build it by myself. Bourbon from top shelf. Yeah, I don't even know no one. Yeah, I ain't got no label or a manager. Gotta keep my percentages, gotta keep all my benefits. I don't take no orders, only take orders if it's orders. Never no breach, never no siege. I see I'm putting up borders. Bitch, if you're talking about funds, then I guess I'm a hoarder. Now, stakes been high, take a look at my steak. My steak been looking like porterhouse. Brand new LLC.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going this morning?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, this technically advanced world's a little bit above our realm of understanding. I was telling them.
Absolutely.
I was telling them I watched 20 hours of YouTube just to figure out how to do this. You know. So.
I see you all bundled up.
Yeah, it's 16 degrees here, and in order to do these things, my mic will pick up every little noise. I have to turn everything off.
Okay.
Yes.
It's 9 degrees here, so I feel your pain.
I don't mess around with 9 degrees. At 9 degrees, I don't even go to work. I don't know how you and Juan do it up there, man. At 9 degrees, I don't even go to work.
I don't know how we do it either, to be honest with you, but we do.
Right on. Well, anyway, introduce yourself to all of us. How long have you been driving and all that kind of stuff?
Since 1990. Went to a school, which was, I don't know, back then schools didn't give you much. I had 2 weeks of school. All of it was in classroom, but 4 hours of driving, and I was thrown in downtown Chicago in a semi. So it was the old school truckers that actually taught me to drive.
Well, learning in downtown Chicago is a pretty bad place to start to begin with. I don't even like going there having an experience, much less trying to start out there.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're lucky you made it through that in one piece.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I know Juan runs down there pretty regularly, and I don't know how he does it without. I wouldn't have any hair left at all.
I learned in Chicago, but I guess if I got any bad situation, I always went to the other drivers that had experience, and they talked me through whatever I needed to be talked through, and then finally I started catching on slowly. But when they say it takes 2 football fields and a half for a newbie to turn a semi around, it's true.
Well, especially back then, most of them had hoods on them, and a longer wheelbase. It took a whole lot longer to turn them around than they do nowadays.
Yes, now you can turn on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I started in 1990, and I learned running Chicago, and then I hooked up with a company out on the East Coast, and I ran Jersey and out to the West Coast all the time. So I learned real quick how to run mountains in winter and ice and snow, and that's an experience, I'm telling you.
How long were you OTR?
I'd say 25 years.
Okay, so you were OTR for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sure was, but there's one thing I love trucking. And I honestly, I was just sitting there one day and I just said, what am I going to do? I can't stand factories. I can't stand sitting in an office. I'm got so much energy, and I said, well, I'm going to learn to drive a truck, because I always was fascinated with them. And I'm the only trucker in my family, or has ever been in my family.
Yeah, so, see, I was going to ask you that, because a lot of female drivers that I meet out here on the road, either their dad drove or their grandfather drove, and they used to ride with them, and they developed a love for it. That's what brought them into the industry.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, what brought you into the industry?
It was just the love of the truck. I just was fascinated in them. I'd go watch them, and every time I'd see a parade and a semi would come through the parade when I was young, I'd get goosebumps, and I'd say, well, I'm going to go do that. So
that was back when the public liked us.
Yeah, they liked us. They don't like us anymore.
No, if we're in a parade, normally there's a parade of police officers behind us. We're not the fan base. We don't have the fan base we once had.
No, it was a lot. As far as the camaraderie goes, just among truckers and the people, it was much better back in the older days. But today, I mean, you still have a lot of good drivers out there and a lot of good people, but you got bad too. And you got to be careful as far as a female goes out and into the world. So
That's something else I was going to ask you. I know times have changed quite a bit from 1990 to now, but how was it being a female coming into the industry to begin with? What kind of challenges did you face then?
well, back then they didn't have the accommodations for females. It just was for men, like showers, and most of the girls' bathrooms were stuck outside somewhere. And it was really quite a challenge. I mean, I would have to have the showers guarded when I would go in to take a shower. And you'd go in as a female to deliver a load or something like that. And a lot of times you got laughed at or people didn't see you seriously. And it was quite a challenge as far as that goes, but I earned my stripes. So
I know when I first started, which was way after that, but even then there was a little bit of issue with it because I remember in Alabama one time, drivers blocking a female, making it harder on her to back in. You know, she was trying to back in, they rolled all the way up on her where she couldn't swing around.
yes,
You know,
that's happened many a times to me. I've had guys come and scream at me and pound on my truck, and I think and I'm not saying, I always had good drivers too that would back me up and get out there and get the drivers to move away. And there was always the good guys too. So,
right.
you know, that was really important to me as far as a female goes, because you need that out there. You know, you need those guys out there. They're all your family, because that is a lifestyle. It isn't a job. It is a lifestyle.
That's 100% correct. And that's been my goal through American Truckers United, is to try to bring that unity we once had back. And I try to tell people it wasn't like we didn't have problems. It ain't like we didn't pick on each other. It ain't like we didn't talk smack to each other. We did.
Oh,
But
sure.
it was different though back then. And we had more of a brotherhood out here. You know, a driver told me the other day, said, well, you're stuck in the past. I said, well, I may be, but that's the way I see it. And
Well,
we were a lot better off.
Right, Snapper. I mean, I'm going to tell you, he says we're stuck in the past. Well, thank God for the past. We wouldn't have what we have today if we didn't have the past, and you have to respect that. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and you know, this it seems like today everything's about me. You know, me. That's all everybody's worried about. And I always think to myself, you know, it's a good thing that our ancestors weren't that way, because there were, not just in trucking, but even in life in general, there were a lot of people that gave up their lives at really young ages. You know, some of them died at war for our freedom at 8, 18, 19, 20 years old,
yes,
who never had a chance to get married, have kids, live a life. You know,
yes.
It's a good thing they didn't have that same outlook, or we wouldn't be sitting here today.
Oh, exactly. I mean, when I sit back and think about it all, and I think about the drivers I knew over the years and the ones that spent their life making sure everybody else had something when they went home, I miss them. I really miss them, and I love their old school way, because they were true men, they were true women, and they had sincerity, and that's really important out there. You've got to keep your sincerity and your kindness when you're out trucking, because if you lose that, then you have that me attitude and you blame everybody else.
Yes, I totally agree. And I always tell people, you know, we got DOT against us. These companies, they don't really care. I mean,
No.
we're done. They'll put someone else in the seat just as fast as they put us in the seat. We're 1,000 miles away from our families. If we don't have each other, we ain't got nothing.
Right. And sometimes you're shut down out there. One time I was shut down up on a mountain out in Colorado near Vail, and we were shut down on that mountain for 3 days, and there was 4 of us. Now, if we all had that me attitude and we don't give a crap attitude, then we would have had a miserable time sitting 4 days on a mountain.
Yeah.
So you really have to think about things like that.
I got snowed in up there in Oregon, right by Cabbage Pass, or Dead Man's Pass is a technical term for it. But
Yes.
and we helped each other make sure each other had food. We were up there 2 days.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we made
those are your best stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's the stuff you remember.
Yes.
You know, you don't remember a lot of that other stuff, but you remember that time you're snowed in Everybody made sure everybody had something to eat, something to drink.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yes.
Made sure they didn't run out of fuel. They were staying warm in their truck. Everything was good. We checked on each other. Um, and I'm not to say that wouldn't happen today, but it doesn't happen on the level that it used to happen on. People are more reserved. They stop, they close up their curtains. They're not worried about whatever's going on out there. They get on their phones. They go into their own little world. And and I think it's technology that's created a lot of it, where everybody's they're in their own little circle, or how they say it, safe space, as they call it nowadays.
Absolutely.
So,
I don't understand that philosophy, because you're alone a lot in that truck. And there's one thing I learned when I was driving by myself over the years, is you learn how to depend on yourself and to understand who you are as a human being. And if you can center yourself and you need those people out there, because you never know what's going to happen. And they check on you. They make sure you're okay. They say, why haven't I heard from this person in a day or two? It's real important to keep that connection out there, and those drivers out there, because they're the ones that understand when you have sadness or depression. We've talked a guy out of committing suicide that was a driver once. If you need that, you need that.
Yeah, and driver depression is something that's serious, and it affects all of us to a certain level. We had a driver here at the company I work at a couple of years ago, sitting at a shipper in Kansas City, Missouri. And for whatever reason, whatever was going on with him, he shot and killed himself in his truck right there at the shipper.
Oh, yeah.
Never told nobody, never nothing. But,
Great.
that reaching out to each other is how we prevent that.
Yes. Because another driver understands. Another driver understands, because being a truck driver, and sometimes you don't see your family that often, and your family becomes the drivers out there. I mean, sure, if your wife's at home or your husband's at home or your kids are talking to you, but they don't really understand what happens to you out there. You could have a bad day.
Yeah, someone's view of it from outside the industry is totally different than what it is. I know before I came to driving, my view of trucking was way different than what it was after I started actually doing the job and getting into the lifestyle. And these outside public, they just see a truck that's in their way. They just see a truck that's going too slow. They don't think about the fact that everything they have came from a truck somewhere at some point in time. Other than the air you breathe, everything came on a truck at some point in time. But the only people that really understand it are each other.
Yes.
So we take away that communication with each other, and now you're completely alone.
You're isolated, and that's not good.
Right. And I think that's why depression out here has reached the heights that it's reached. It's getting worse.
It is getting worse.
And I believe that has a lot to do with why.
I think that if a driver would take time and really sit back and just melt into the trucking, if that's what they're going to do, you have to meld with that trucking, because you can't become angry and defensive and pissed off at everything around you and force your body to just drive hard and think that you're going to have a healthy mental attitude, because it's not going to happen. It's going to get worse.
You can see it online in these trucker groups and different things like that. By the comments, you can tell that the mental health is way down. You see a lot of insecurity, a lot of depression. I did a video on that, as a matter of fact. That snappiness and that constant negative attitude, that's a sign of depression.
Yes.
And we're seeing a lot of it out here, and it's almost become where people just think that's a trucker. No, that's not a trucker. That's depression.
Yes.
And part of fixing that is actually communicating with each other. And like you said a while ago, we understand what the next guy's going through. I know what this guy in the truck next to me is doing, because I'm doing the same thing.
Yes.
And it's
you have to love the job, and you have to enjoy it and laugh at it, because if you don't do those things, you're going to lose yourself, and that's not good.
Yeah, and I don't know how we'll ever get it back. It's a mission of mine to try to get it back, and it may be a losing battle, but I'm not going to give up. And I know there's a lot of others out here that feel the same way.
I watched a lot of your videos, and I think you've got a good message going on out there, Snapper. And I think that people are listening, and if not, you're planting a lot of seeds in their head that hopefully will flourish as they go in life through this trucking industry.
I hope so, and I hope it helps those that are coming into it presently. So maybe they come in with a little bit better outlook on it and try to reach out and be more social with the people around them to prevent those problems from happening.
Right. Drivers are always outside their trucks. If it's nice out, you'll see drivers standing around talking and put the lawn, they'll put a couple of chairs out there and sit and have a couple of drinks just to enjoy themselves. And you'll see that. And you walk up to them, talk to them, sit down with them.
Yeah, I get my chair out, and I got a Houston Texans chair, which they're the worst football team in history. But it brings up conversation because somebody walking by is going to pick on me about it.
Yes.
So it starts that conversation.
Hey, I got the Packers, and they didn't do good this year. So,
hey, but the Packers have had a Super Bowl. Houston has never come close to it
oh,
with any team they've ever had, Oilers or the Texans. I don't think they've ever gotten past the second round in the playoffs.
well,
And I think the only reason we got there is because we paid somebody.
I'll have to send you a cheesehead.
No, I can't go that far. I can't do that. I'm still from South Texas. Even though I can't trade them off. I can't do it.
I love Texas. Boy, I used to run Laredo all the time. I just loved that. Enjoyed it completely.
I like going to Laredo. I used to like going more back in the day because I used to go to Mexico a little bit. But
Yeah.
Mexico's gotten so dangerous now that it's not really safe to go down there anymore. Even in the tourist areas, it's gotten a little rough. So the last couple of years, I haven't gone down there. Been waiting on it to chill out. And he goes through its phases, so it'll chill out, and then it'll start going back again,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I came off the, huh?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I came off the road because my dog said he's retiring. He said, I'm done. I'm out of here. He says, so I came local. So I started driving local, and it's cool. But I realized I missed the road. You miss it. When you really enjoyed something, you missed it. And if you don't enjoy trucking and you think it's just a paycheck, get the hell out.
I completely agree. And I came off the road 3 different times. I went local 3 different times. I went once, I ran a concrete truck one time. Once I went and ran roll-offs. I even delivered milk one time to stores. I tried that.
Okay.
But every time I get off the road, within a few months, I start missing it.
Yep.
And I want to come back. So I'll talk myself into it, and I'll come right back out on the road. I don't think I've ever stayed off the road more than 4 months.
It's an addiction.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's a lifestyle like no other. You don't have a boss standing over your shoulder. You can schedule your days out, responsibly. You got to be self-driven because there's nobody going to wake you up and tell you, hey, you need to get going.
Oh, yeah. You have to be responsible, and you really get to know who you are out there.
Right. And meeting other drivers, meeting other people, seeing places. You think about it as a driver, over the road driver, that is. We see, there's nothing in the country we don't see at some point in time or another. There's people that save up all year long to go see some of the places that we see. I've seen Niagara Falls, the restart up there.
Yep.
Mount Rushmore. Did a restart in Moab, went and rented some equipment and ran around in the desert, tried to kill myself for a couple of days.
Oh, I used to run through Moab, Utah. Oh my God, that's beautiful up there. That is God's country up there. I'm telling you.
Do you know how many people live their whole lives and never see it?
They see it. The only thing they see is pictures. I don't know. I don't know. It's something it's beautiful, and people think that they're going to, become extremely rich, but you can live comfortably as long as you're smart, and you can be wise with your money. You can have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, and we actually make a lot more money than we used to,
Yeah.
We were shopping at Goodwill. We can actually shop at Walmart now.
Hey, I take karate lessons behind Walmart.
There you go.
I don't know. I just think I've done so many things out there and met so many good people, and I still have a lot of good connections with people. And You can't give that up. It's a whole lifetime of, I would never trade it in for the world.
No, I myself, I know some don't feel this way, but myself, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to have the health to be able to do the job I'm doing.
Yes.
I feel blessed to be able to see the things I get to see. I mentioned it the other day, and somebody kind of made fun of me, but the view of a sunset going down between the mountains in Montana is absolutely amazing.
Oh, yes.
And I can't tell you how many times I've parked and just watched it because it's a once in a lifetime thing. I'm from South Texas,
Right.
or the sunrise in Idaho coming up over the desert. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is beautiful. And people fear the winters, but I'm going to tell you what, some of my most beautiful driving has been in Montana when you have walls of snow on the highway and you're driving through it and around and up and down those mountains and curves. And it's just gorgeous up there.
It is. It really is. I've seen some beautiful places. Fleur de Alin, Idaho, beautiful. Western seaboard of Oregon and Washington, beautiful, green. Now, if you go there in the winter, it rains all winter, you'll find out why it's so green. But
yeah,
I mean, we get to see a lot of things that a lot of people don't, And I was talking to another driver last night, as a matter of fact, and he, we were kind of discussing that. And I said, man, you got to take the time to go see this stuff because you're not going to be able to drive forever.
No.
There's going to come a day when you can't drive anymore, And when that day comes, you're going to wish that you had took the time to see some of the things that we get around out here on the road.
Well, exactly. And and yeah, you're going to have problems with your dispatchers. Oh, we don't even want to go there, but there's going to be days. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, I could tell you some stories on that, but I mean,
that is a war. I can't count how many times I've told my dispatcher they must have bumped their head this morning because I ain't doing that. But I mean, that's a war between us and them that's been there since the beginning. And I'm sure it's probably been there since you started,
Oh yeah. I've had dispatchers just scream at me, but I won't tolerate that. So back then you'd go to a phone booth or the phones were at the lunch bar, wherever you had breakfast bar, and you'd hang up on them because they can't find you. They don't know for sure where you're at.
Yeah, and then even when you called back, you'd get somebody else because it'd be 20 minutes waiting on hold for someone to answer. I remember when they had them at their tables in the restaurants, so you could sit on hold while you were waiting on your food.
Yeah.
TA did that. Some of the local restaurants, I know Kettle Restaurant back home, they did that. They had phones set up at all the booths, and you just call, just set it on your shoulder and wait, order your food. It was going to be a minute.
Well, you know what I miss? What I missed from the beginning to today is the mom and pop places you could go to and have breakfast, and you could park. The mom and pop restaurants that truckers could go into and park, those started disappearing. And I still like the Petros and the TAs and stuff. And many times I'd sit around the bar and have just the greatest time with the drivers talking stories, But
yeah, we used to sit around talking crap about somewhere we had been or what our dispatcher tried to do to us last week or some shipper that held us up for 9 hours for 2 pallets,
Oh, been there, done that.
Yeah. I mean, those issues have always been there. They'll probably always be there. It's things we all deal with. And we used to let our steam out talking to each other about it. Another driver would be like, yeah, I went up there a couple of years ago, but they're still having a hard time. Or, we related to each other, and we kind of miss that out here now.
Oh yeah. You could talk to each other and say, hey, I just sat up at this one place and blah, blah, blah. But you're letting off and you're talking, you're getting out. And that's why that camaraderie out there is really important. Because if you just stay angry, nobody's going to want to talk to you,
Yeah. And you have a dog, so, you stay angry too long, your dog's not even going to want to talk to you. But,
that's your buddy. That's your partner.
That's right. Now, I know it's changed a lot over the years, but as a female today, what do you think females today are facing coming into the industry?
I think as far as coming into the industry, females need to be very cautious out there and be smart where you park. Don't just park anywhere. And if you have to come in late in a truck stop and you're stuck going into the back row, park up somewhere where you can park up near the, not in the fuel island, but alongside the fuel island, go into the truck stop, get what you need, and then go park in the back. But don't park and then walk all the way through that truck stop at night. That's real important to always have your back and your surroundings, because things aren't always good. And you could be at a place that's not very good.
Well, they normally put warehouses and truck stops in the worst part of town, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I know myself, I got robbed in the Flying J in Indianapolis one time. You know, so I mean, it happens. And I try to tell people the same thing. I have a female friend of mine that works for Swift.
Okay.
And she has a dog. You know, it's kind of an old dog, but it's still vicious a little bit. It's an old pit bull. She carries with her on the truck. She was down in Mississippi, and there was a guy in the restaurant that kept staring at her. He kept watching her. One of the waitresses told her, said, that guy over there is, you know, acting a little strange.
Right.
So you might want to keep an eye on him. She goes back out to her truck. She gets in her truck. Well, the dog curls up under her steering wheel there in the floorboard on the driver's side. She had the door open and she was cleaning, airing everything out and doing her thing there. That guy had followed her out.
Yep.
And waited. When she got up in her truck, he didn't realize there was a dog in there. And when he was just going to climb up in the truck behind her, the dog bit him in the face. You know, and the law got called out there. Of course, they banned him from the truck stop and stuff like that. But you got to be careful. Those kinds of things happen.
Yes.
You know, there's weirdos out here, just like there's good people. There's a lot of weirdos out here as well, you know.
Absolutely. I always carried a taser, and I carried wasp spray.
Yeah, Juan told me to ask you about the wasp spray.
Well, it shoots up to, I think, so many feet, up to 20 feet or something like that. And that'll knock somebody out. It'll give you time to get away. I don't care if they're wearing sunglasses or glasses. That stuff is going to hurt you. Yeah,
they're at the very least not going to be able to see which direction you went.
And right. And, you know, some people say, well, I brandish a weapon. Well, I'm going to tell you what, the laws are very strict out there about that. And I think there's other things you can do that wouldn't kill someone, because I don't think you'd want that on your conscience. So always be careful.
Yeah. And even as a guy, I carry pepper spray, you know, because you just never know, you know. I got a tire thumper, you know, it's got a little metal tip on the end of it. You know, I mean, we are in these bad areas. I've delivered in Compton. I've delivered in Chicago, some really bad areas of Chicago. Down Little Cicero, delivered out in New York, Bronx, Brooklyn.
Most of the places will tell you, you know, if you're a girl, they'll say, look, you stay in that truck and you don't get out of that truck till I come and get you.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. You know, and what I was going to say a while ago with what happened to the lady I know over at Swift is, as male drivers, it's up to us not to be a creep about it, but to keep an eye on that female when she's walking back to her truck. You know, in case something's going wrong, you know, you could at least alert her, say, hey, somebody following you over there, you know, at least bring attention to the situation, you know. Most of the time with a creep, once they know somebody's watching them, they're done, you know.
I was at a Petro in Gary, Indiana, and they found a girl, she was stabbed to death in her truck. The guy followed her. They found out, and they watched on the cameras in the truck stop. The guy followed her right out from when she took her shower. And that was during the day. And he waited till it started doing dusk and got in her truck somehow. And that's why I'm saying it's so important to as a female, because you're not strong enough to take on a man. I don't care what you say or what you think, you're not strong enough. A man is stronger, and he will, if he's desperate, and he wants to do something, he's going to do it.
Well, not only that, but they normally sneak up. So you got the element of surprise and on top of it, you know, and there's all kinds of little tricks, you know, like running your seatbelt through the door and looping it, you know. That stuff won't completely stop somebody from getting in the truck, but it's going to alert you, and it's going to give you time to prepare and react. You know, as well as hit 911 on your phone.
I used one of those straps, you know, to lock a load down with. and I'd run it from door to door.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Yeah.
And, I mean, all those things are deterrents. Our keys, I don't know if drivers realize this, but I've been around where someone else locked their keys in their truck, and they got the same kind of truck I got. So they'll come try my key. Our keys will open other trucks.
Yes.
Of the same brand. So if you got a Freightliner, my key will open other Freightliners. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yes.
Peterbilts and all of them are the same way, I guess, unless you have it specially made. But if it's a fleet truck for a company, they'll open up many trucks. So you got guys out here that work for many different companies. They might have keys stashed up. You don't never know.
Well, yeah, they've always got a plan, and that's what you have to be aware of. In their minds, they have a plan. And in your mind, you're not thinking of anything but getting to your truck or getting here, doing this, because just sitting in a truck all day, that sucks too.
Yeah, I would think it does, but it seems like nowadays that's the thing to do. I get drivers parked next to me. They close up their curtains and you never see them.
Yeah.
You don't see them till they leave. When they open their curtains and take off. You can go in a truck stop. There might be one or two people in the TV room. You go wash clothes. There's hardly anybody in there, and if they are in there, they get upset if you try to talk to them. They get real reserved.
I don't understand that today. It used to be where you could sit around and talk and enjoy people and have fun, and I don't understand that mindset today.
No, and I actually blame it on technology, because we text, we talk on the phone.
Right.
Most of our interaction is through some form of technology, so people have lost the art of being able to talk face to face. Right.
It's true, because they grew up being, their life is the video. Their life is that way, and they don't know how to communicate one-on-one with people anymore. And that's really sad, Snapper. I mean, that really is sad.
I was talking to my oldest daughter the other day. All right, now she's in her 20s.
Right.
And she literally told me LOL.
She told you that?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
Instead
funny.
of laughing, she said LOL.
My mom and dad, when I text my dad and said LOL, he thought it meant lots of love. So he started sending that to his friends. And I'm so, Dad, that's laugh out loud, not lots of love.
No, me and her were having a conversation on the phone. And she's so used to texting that instead of laughing at what I said, she said, "Oh, LOL." I said, "Dude, what? What in the hell is wrong with you, kid? You just laugh. You don't have to say LOL." But these kids live on these devices nowadays, so they don't have any other. And it's the same in trucking, because that generation is the one that's coming out here now. So
and their depression's going to be the worst, I think, in this new generation. I think it's going to be the worst depression. There's going to be a lot of depressed drivers. There's going to be a lot of, it's just, I don't know, it's changed, Snapper. It really has, because I'm Gen X. And that's the only way our communication was the sun. Dark, you go in. We were outside all the time playing and talking.
Yeah, I actually talked to Juan about that. That it was weird the way it was. Where all the bikes were, that's where everybody was hanging out at.
Right.
We played football in the street. And it kind of makes me sad, even as a driver nowadays, because I'm going through these little towns and I'm on these back roads, and I don't see kids outside playing anymore.
No.
It's you can't even tell there's any kids in town. The parks are empty when I drive by a park. And I don't know what the world's coming to, but there's got to be a breaking point, because our social network is just totally falling apart.
It's collapsing. And it's still like, I live in the country, and I know a lot of good farmers and their kids, and those kids work every day out in the farms and stuff. And I just think that's a lost art, with kids going out and playing kick the can and communicating with each other. It's a complete lost art. And now with this social distancing they've been doing for 2 years, the depression in little kids is skyrocketing, and the suicide rate in young people is amazing.
I think that's why we're seeing the stuff we're seeing in the schools, the shootings and different things like that, is because of this depression. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media. You got people trying to live up to an image they see online. You got people trying to live up to a standard, keeping up with the Joneses, as we used to call it, that they see online. And then they don't have the being able to social interact. So you get these kids that are going to school and they get bullies. We've always had bullies. That's something that's been there since the beginning of time.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't have the social skills to know how to deal with the bully in person. They know how to deal with them online, but they don't know how to deal with them in person. So you get these kids that are like that, and it builds up in them, and then we end up with these mass shootings and different things like that that are happening around the country.
I think the problem is a lot, and it's not all parents. So, but I mean, a lot of parents put their kids on these drugs when they're real young. And my philosophy is if you lock a dog in a cage and you let that dog out, and all you do is lock it in the cage for 24 hours, and then you let it out, it goes crazy. You don't put it on drugs. And that's what kids are being put in front of these phones and these TVs and these computers, and they're on there all day long. Well, then when they do get away from it, they don't know how to handle themselves. They got so much built up energy, they start being destructive. Parents automatically start putting them on drugs. And it's messing up their brain, which is trying to develop.
Well, T-Bone asked a good question. He said, is the world more dangerous place, or are we just more aware of it because of social media? I believe it is worse than what it used to be because we've always had the news.
Right.
And we didn't have a lot of the things that are happening on the rate that they're happening today on the news. And those kinds of things would have made the news. Not that it didn't happen back then, but it didn't happen as often as it happens now.
Right. Absolutely, Snapper. I agree with you.
I don't know.
I agree with you because I think that people don't we got more people too. We've got a lot more people. When you got a lot more people, you got a lot more crazy. And does social media and everything help to enhance that, just like the news always enhanced the drama? Of course. But it is different. You used to drive down the street and you'd see your neighbor wave at you. People don't do that no more.
No, it's definitely changed. I wave at other drivers. And I do it just out of pure fun because I get flipped off about 5 times a day.
They're just saying hi.
But I wave at them anyway. I just smile and wave. And sometimes I do it in a real goofy kind of Gomer Pyle kind of way. I know they're going to flip me off. And to me, it's hilarious. But it also gives me something to do going down the road. And being in a slow truck, I get passed a lot. So I get to smile and give them the Gomer Pyle look as they go by.
That's true. I mean, I used to love, I don't know what the CB's like because I don't listen to it anymore because over the years, I only turn it on in the winter when I need it on. But other than that, I just don't talk on it anymore because you're either getting cussed out or swore at or, just everything under the sun,
The way the CB operates is a lot different than what it used to be. I still have one and I keep it turned down. And I kind of listen in the background. Right. But there's a lot of nonsense on it. And, some of the guys from our generation will gripe at the new generation because they don't have CBs. A lot of them don't.
Right.
But at the same time, when I listen to mine, I understand why they don't.
Yeah.
Why would you want to spend money on something to listen to that? It's ridiculous. So, I wish they did have a CB because it is useful.
Very useful because you can always go to another channel with the driver and you guys can talk and have a real good conversation and enjoy yourself.
Right. But I also understand why they don't. When I listen to the radio, I was thinking about that yesterday, coming across Wyoming. I was listening to some BS and nothing about the weather, nothing about the snow, nothing about the roads, just total nonsense.
Yes.
And, I call it boys with toys because they go get these high-powered radios. You can't, you can't get over them, and it's nonsense.
It is
something off their phone. They're playing a recording off of YouTube, or they're doing something weird with it, and you can't get any important information out if you wanted to.
I see, and that used to bug me. That was one thing that really would piss me off when they do that. We don't want to hear you. First off, your music doesn't sound good on the CB, so we don't want to hear it. And why even do it? We can't enjoy our conversation.
Yeah, and I feel the same way when trucks pull up beside me in a truck stop and they got their music up real loud. I know they're not deaf because they have a CDL and they're out here, so I know they passed an exam. for some reason they believe their music is so good that they want to hear it, and that they believe the people on both sides of them want to hear it too. That's not always the case, you know.
Oh, I know. And what do you know, it's really hard because I may not like your music. Can you turn it down, please? You know, but
Right.
I don't know. I read a lot. I became a real avid reader as a driver. I think you got to keep your mind sharp and keep your wits about you at all times. And I think driving for us, professional drivers, we have an ability to see things that most people don't even see, because you're always looking and maneuvering and checking things out, and you're making sure that everything's safe and nothing's going to get hit.
Right. And we have a lot of time to think.
Yes. Oh
Sometimes,
God.
sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing.
That's right. That
But
can be a bad thing.
we have a lot of time to think. And I think that's where our problem comes in with dealing with dispatch, because we can take a little bitty problem, think on it for the next 10 hours going down the road. And by the time we get to the end, it's a nuclear explosion. You know, this ain't going to work.
Yep.
The world's coming to an end. And it's all because we had all that time to think within our own, you know, we're rolling it in the back of our mind throughout the day. And that sometimes can be unhealthy.
Okay, Snapper. Now turn that into 10 times fold with a female, because we internalize everything and we overthink everything. I'm like, before I get there, I'm exploding. So a female will do that.
Well, I've been cussed out by a few at shippers and receivers. You know, sometimes they're not in the mood for a hello, and it comes from that. It comes from just thinking something going on at home. That's something I try to tell these new drivers too. Your home life has to be good, because if your home life is bad, your road life is going to be bad.
Yes.
And anything you're going through at home is going to be 10 times worse in the cab of this truck.
Absolutely. You got to have a strong person at home that can handle your career, as someone who truly loves you. And if you're looking for coming out here and you think you're going to look for love, it's just, it's very rare, and it's usually very short-lived. And the best thing to do is, if you're going to make this a career, and it's my personal opinion, is stay single for a while. Get to understand the road. Get to understand how it works.
Yeah, and whoever you decide to be with at home has to understand it as well.
Yeah,
because
I've heard
it won't work.
Yeah, because I've talked a lot of drivers out of some bad situations in their head when their better half at home is putting them through hell. And they don't understand at home that they're safe. They're in a house. If this person's out there, it's not what they think. It's not, they're not out here and it's picking up whores or picking up dudes, and it's not that way out here. I mean, sure, do you have lot lizards come around? Every place has lot lizards coming around. But a lot of times, most drivers close their curtains and they'll go to bed and they'll get up because they know they have to deliver the next day. They're not out whoring around.
You really don't have time for it. If you're doing your job, you really don't have time for it.
No.
And something for the new drivers to think about when it comes to lot lizards. You think about this real carefully. You're paying for something that probably has something. There's probably 100 trucks on that lot. If she's only with 10% of them, that's 10 drivers a night. However long she's been doing that, do you really want to put a piece of rubber between you and death? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was in Dallas, Texas at the TA, and it was actually the Flying J, and I seen a lot lizard in my rearview mirror, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching her, and she had like a little set dress on, and she spread her legs, she pottied right behind my truck and picked up a piece of garbage off the ground and wiped herself and went on to the next truck.
Yeah, and that's what drivers are paying for. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth what's going to come with it. It's really not.
No, get a magazine and use your hand. You're safer.
Yeah, we got internet nowadays. You don't have to do that anymore. You know.
No, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen some pretty wild things. I've seen in Dallas as well at the TA. I seen a girl wash herself off, and she climbed out of a truck,
Yeah,
washed
it's
herself off in the
nasty.
puddle, and then knocked on the next truck, who ironically let her in. And I
Well,
was just
it's
mind blown.
nasty.
I was like, yeah,
You can't be that desperate. You know what
no,
I mean? You can't be that desperate. If you're that desperate, there's other ways. You know what I mean?
yeah, there is. And even though the lot lizards are not as prevalent today as they were 10 years ago,
Oh yeah, there were a
but
lot.
the only thing I miss about it is the entertainment, because I'd watch them walking across the lot. There was always something going to happen. I saw
Yep.
a guy in Little Rock who had let a girl in his truck. The girl robbed him. She took off with his wallet and his phone.
Yep.
This guy jumps out of the truck in his boxers, big old fat driver, chasing this lot lizard through the lot barefooted. She's got his wallet, his phone, and her shoes in her hand, and she's running in front of him. I mean, it was hilarious.
You have to laugh.
I miss those kind of things, but I don't miss the other things that came along with it, because a lot of drivers got killed.
Yep.
There were setups involved in all that, where girls would have guys come in behind them into the trucks, shooting and killing drivers, robbing them.
And it's I think before everything's said and done in the United States, as things are going, it may get worse as people get more desperate, because things are costing a lot more money, and the hustle out there is going to be real.
We're going through what we went through in the 70s. And in the 70s, if you were going to buy something, you bought it this week because it was going to be more expensive next week.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the way inflation was flowing. We were in hyperinflation at that time. We're going through hyperinflation again.
Yes.
So everything, the value of the dollar is going down. So everything's becoming, it takes more and more of them to buy something. So yeah, I believe and we're only 1 year into this presidency.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe as time goes by, and it's just my own opinion, I believe it's going to get a lot worse. We're going to begin to see things we haven't seen before.
Yes.
And I believe we're going to see things on a scale that we haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How long, how bad it's going to get or how long it's going to last, I have no idea. But I do believe that is coming. That's something that's coming.
You can feel it. You can feel something's going to start happening. And I felt it a year ago, something was coming. And I still feel something is coming. And I don't know how to explain it or why it is, but it's happening.
Yeah, it's the tone. It's the feel in the air. You can tell it. I've talked to other people about it. They feel the same way. There's definitely something bad coming. There's definitely a big change coming.
Yes.
And
that's why, like what you're doing, Snapper, trying to keep the camaraderie with the drivers is so important today.
Well,
in these times.
If the world goes nuts, I'm going to have to find a reefer driver who's got a little bit of food in his reefer, Yep. So I need that guy to be my friend,
That's right. That's right.
I haul a drop box and I can't eat electronics, but,
Well, look what's happened in Ottawa right now, Canada. Things are going to start coming down in this country too. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I think. But
I agree.
That's just my opinion.
And I believe a lot of people feel the same way. I've heard some of the other channels talk about it.
Right.
I know Ike from Bonehead Truckers was talking about it the other night. I do believe that's something that's coming. And like I said, to what extent, I don't know. But I definitely think something's coming. We're going to have something happen here.
Right. And that's why I say to the drivers out there, especially the female drivers, connect out there with people, make good friends. They're all good guys. They've all helped me through some bad times when I first started. They'll show you the ropes. They're more than willing to work with you. And they're not all out there to jump in your truck. They're just out there as good guys. The world still makes them.
I totally agree. There are good people out in the world, and it's just but we got to communicate with each other in order to find them.
Yes.
Your phone is not going to tell you when you pass somebody that was a good person you just passed.
No, true.
There's no app for that. So we actually have to communicate with each other in order to figure that out.
Well, I'm down to 24%.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and getting ready to close this thing up. We got an hour into this thing already.
I had fun.
I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you watching and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know your information out there is going to be beneficial to females entering the industry as well.
Yes.
And they know that what they're going through, you've already been through. that helps them. You know, what y'all face and what we face coming in the industry is different. You know, so
if they can just get a hold of you or something, or if they want to try to get a hold of me, I'll let you have my information. You have my phone number. If you got a female that's really hurting and she wants to talk to somebody, I'm more than willing to talk.
I appreciate that. I know they appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on here and doing this morning.
Oh, I appreciate your videos. I love them.
And I know these guys here in the chat are enjoying watching it as well.
Good.
You take care of yourself, stay out of trouble. And
of course.
As a word of warning to all the drivers out there, remember earlier she said she took karate behind Walmart. Just keep that in mind. Think about that.
Shit.
If you happen to run into her, you know, stay distance, self-distance. You have a good day. Stay out of trouble.
Peace.
And thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That is Miss Jeanett, old school driver. Been around, like she said, since 1990. Hang on a minute. Oh, there we go. Been around since 1990, so she's seen a thing or two. She's been driving a whole lot longer than me. And this video will be saved, so hopefully it helps other females that are coming into the industry. You know, there's someone there who's been through some of the things they've been through. And there's someone there still doing it because she's still driving. There's someone there still doing it that's going through the same issues that other females are going through. Anyway, I'm going to close this up. Y'all have a great day. Stay out of trouble. Stay safe. Try to stay warm. I know some of y'all said y'all were up in temperatures in the negatives. I wouldn't go outside, driver. You can call in sick. Tell them olesnapper said it was okay. But anyway, I appreciate all of y'all for watching the content and coming in. I know y'all could be doing a lot of other things. There's a lot of channels out there y'all could be watching. Y'all take care. Until next time, keep trucking.
I don't need no one else. Build it by myself. Bourbon from top shelf. Yeah, I don't even know no one. Yeah, I ain't got no label or a manager. Gotta keep my percentages. Gotta keep all my benefits. I don't take no orders. Only take orders if it's orders. Never no breach. Never no siege. I see I'm putting up borders. Bitch, if you're talking about funds, then I guess I'm a hoarder. Now stakes been high. Take a look at my steak. My steak been looking like porterhouse. Brand new LLC.